Hello, you're very welcome to the NFL show here on the Under Center podcast. Dara joining you this evening. I am delighted to have Fionn on board with me for this week's show. I know we missed last week's due to Storm. What was it? Storm Bram or something like that? What was it called?
Something like that. Bran or Bram,
Yeah,
one of those two.
Bram, something like that. Yeah. It decided it wanted to take part of my fence with it, so I had to deal with that matter, which was always great fun. But look, listen, it doesn't matter. Things fall down. No one was hurt. That's the main thing. Fionn, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Glad to be back. Obviously, yeah, we had our own drama with the weather, trains getting cancelled and all this stuff. We're down south these days in Wicklow, so a lot of trips up and down to Dublin. So trains out of sync really mess us up now in the evenings. But as you said, we made it through. No big dramas in the end. Just a missed podcast, and sure, I'm sure everyone doesn't mind that too much.
I'm sure all those two people that listened didn't mind
Exactly.
missing 1 week exactly.
Plenty
So,
of podcasts to go
so
around. I'm sure
yeah,
whoever is listening to us, else to listen to on the train on a Wednesday.
yeah. Now be careful giving away your location,
This is
there
it.
now,
That's why
Fionn,
I
because
just gave.
teams around Wicklow now are gonna find out that you are there, and you're going to be getting
Yeah.
a few texts saying, "Hey,
Mm.
still want to put on the pads and helmet."
Well, I would be greatly flattered if that happened because I don't think my tape warrants that necessarily. But yeah, I'm always up for a bit of flattery. If anyone wants to reach out to the DMs and just pretend like they want me to play next year, they'll get a no. But it would certainly help the ego a little bit.
Hey, out of the both of us, who played in a Shamrock Bowl playoff with a chance to make it to a Shamrock Bowl?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously with the asterisks of I didn't manage to get on, I was injured for the actual playoff game. But yes, the squad made it to the playoff game, which was pretty cool, I have to admit. But yeah, it would have been nice to take a snap. Unfortunately, the knee was gone. I literally couldn't run it at all. So I would have definitely got a couple of snaps, even just on special teams, but wasn't to be. Unfortunately, would have been a lovely way to
I
wrap
think
up the career.
I think there's a few former or current Panthers or Pirates players that could make the argument that you could never run in the first place. So I
That's,
don't
absolutely
blaming the
more
knee on
than a
this
few, I would
occasion. Yeah.
Some might argue the knee made me better at some points.
Never seen you run so fast, ever. We have actually got a packed show this evening, plenty to talk about. Obviously, the big news story out of the NFL concerning Irish viewers, of course, is Charlie Smith getting his first win as the New Orleans Saints place kicker, actually kicking the winning field goal in the game against the Carolina Panthers. No doubt that's why Rian isn't here this evening because of that. 3 wins for the Saints this year, and 2 of them have come against Rian's Panthers, who only last week in our group chat was uh, loving the fact that his team were actually leading the NFC South with a chance for the playoffs.
Yeah, they do love a good bottle job. They love a bit of a heartbreak. I got to be honest, I'm not sure where the division stands now. They might be reasonably safe, but yeah, fairly ironic that Saints team, unfortunately for Charlie, is not up to a whole lot. But yeah, super cool for the viewers. Obviously, if you're following along, you'll be well aware. If you're more of a casual viewer and you've been following us chatting about Charlie the last couple of weeks, ticked another couple of boxes, 2 long field goals, and most importantly, as we said, for him, it's going to be massive putting stuff on tape. There's a lot of, it's a busy market for kickers. There's a lot of kickers that have poor stats that get starts when issues start to happen in squads because teams will always go for what you have on tape versus what you've been able to show in practice. So huge moment for Charlie to be able to, in his first start, have the kick, make those kicks, and then also make his onside kick. That was a super good thing to put on tape, as we said. And then also the week just gone, hitting that 47-yarder, I believe it was, game winner as it turned out to be. Only 3 seconds left on the clock by the time it went over the bar for the other team to respond. That's huge because that's pressure. That's winning the thing. And it's part of the challenge of being a kicker. You might only get, especially on a poor team, there might be games where you have 8, 9 kicks to do. You can't miss almost any of them because if you're kicking a lot, you need every single one of those 3-pointers to go through. And then also you might not kick almost at all, and the team is going to rely on you to kick the winner right at the end, having done nothing all game. And if it doesn't go through, all of a sudden the questions are asked of you and not of the offense who had the ball for 60 odd snaps and you who had the ball for 3 of those snaps. So yeah, big things, genuinely encouraging things to see if you're a casual fan. Definitely now it's time to keep an eye on Charlie and see what he can do going forward, because if he doesn't make into next season with the Saints, they are really quality reps and highly valuable situations that he's now proved himself in, that will earn him opportunities in the future, even if it doesn't translate immediately into a starting role.
Yeah, it was officially a 42-yard kick, and
42.
for those that either saw the game or didn't, it was initially going to be, well, initially it could have been a 57-yard kick, but very cleverly, when the Saints ran one more play, I think with about 12 seconds left, and they had a quarterback keep, which he slid. Tyler Shook slid to give up the play, and I can't remember who the Panthers defender was, but just complete boneheaded move, decided to go fly in head first and
trying to lay him out,
get the unsportsmanlike penalty, 15 yards, which made the kick a little easier for Charlie, despite it being still difficult at 42 yards. He's like, I don't know if you remember, he kind of was just, he seemed quite cool. He seemed quite calm throughout the whole process of waiting, because obviously the Panthers tried to ice him with a timeout of their own before the kick was made. Didn't let him affect him, and that sort of stuff is really going to stand him instead. Now, as of speaking to this evening, he's back on the practice squad. There's hope that he will sign permanently now, because if he gets called up one more time,
they
he
won't have a
has to
choice.
sign permanently to the 53. So that'll be a great occasion for him.
And as we said before, Dara, yeah, this is definitely not something to be concerned about, because something the rosters are always trying to manage in the NFL for the more casual fans. There's only 52 slots. If you take an international player, you get an extra spot, a 53rd man, while he's on the practice squad.
That's not true. You get 53 as normal.
You
get an extra slot on your practice squad for an international
player. So what the Saints are essentially doing is keeping Charlie on the practice squad during the week, so that they can train with an extra roster spot and then call him up. And this will be the last week they'll be able to do that, because once a practice squad player gets called up 3 times in a season, he then has to be put on the roster. And this is all laid out in the agreement between the players and the league, to stop the league taking advantage of guys and leaving them on the roster spot. But this is all just kind of backroom or front office, as we say, front office management of squads and rosters, to make sure they maximize the advantage that they have with the international player pathway. So don't be too worried or nervous for Charlie. As I said, it was a challenge week 1. He stepped up to the plate both times. I would argue a little wobble the week before, missing one of those field goals. But obviously huge things to put on tape, dealing with stuff like game-winning kicks, getting iced. These are all stuff that you can't really replicate in practice, and why they're so important that he nails these opportunities once he gets them.
Yeah. And look, listen, on Reen's side with the Panthers, it's still all to play for. They are second in the division. They both have the same record, the Panthers and the Bucks. And the Bucks are top due to the fact that they have a better points differential at the moment than the Panthers. But both teams only have 3 games left, and they face each other twice in those 3 games.
Interesting. So most wins. It doesn't get much more most win than that.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting on the NFC South. But the other big news, I guess, more for the wider NFL audience, and that was, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, for the first time since 2014, will not be participating in the AFC playoffs after the regular season finished. Following their 16-13 loss to the Chargers, it means that they are mathematically out of the playoff running. They are no longer in the hunt. They can no longer win the division. And that means that they are going to be spending the early parts of January in Cancun. It is also the first time that Patrick Mahomes will not be playing playoff football in his time as a Kansas City Chief. But unfortunately, that's not all the bad news when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Unfortunately, it was announced that he tore his ACL in one of the final plays of the game against the Chargers, meaning that he is going to be out at least 6 to 9 months, which kind of could put his participation in the start of next season in some doubt. He could start on the pup list. He may not come back for till halfway through next season. To be determined, of course. I'm sure he'll try and push himself to get himself back in time. But still, though, Fionn, a season that the Chiefs we kind of spoke this into existence because we spoke about it about 3-4 weeks ago when they had just come off their defeat against the Broncos, that there was something wrong with this team in terms of they don't seem to have they don't seem to have played as well as they have in previous years. Despite the majority of the team still being there, especially the key pieces in terms of coaching and playing staff, it seems as though, era's end, and this is the Chiefs' time in terms of their era ending in this scenario. You could say there's still time for Mahomes and stuff to create a new Chiefs era, but in terms of this one with Reed, Kelsey, Mahomes, Chris Jones, all of these pivotal pieces over the last 8-9 seasons, it seems like this is curtains for that.
Yeah, well, when you look at kind of who Mahomes gets compared to, Brady obviously had kind of 3 consecutive eras that could, for a lot of QBs, certainly be Hall of Fame careers. So it's not unprecedented for Mahomes to come back and kind of reset everything up again. It would, I suspect, take a similar attitude to Brady, where you're gotta have a willingness to put contracts in place that allow and facilitate the team to add new talent, because a lot of the stars and the key men around the team will drift away now over the next. I would argue the Chiefs would be it would be phenomenal for the Chiefs to make the playoffs next year. Just with Mahomes coming back, these, as you said, Dara, the outlook is probably 9 months. Sometimes it can take up to a year for these to be fully healed. That also doesn't take into account any rustiness and drop off. It usually takes a few weeks for these guys to get it back. And yeah, I think you're right. I think the Chiefs haven't played particularly well. It's not been horrendous. I haven't necessarily been on the bandwagon that the whole thing has gone to shite, but the close games that they were winning last year and that they had kind of become famous for doing, they were starting to drop them, and they were starting to drop them against lower caliber of teams, shall we say. And that was the writing on the wall. Obviously, it's important to note that the ACL is the end of Mahomes' season, but he was also playing injured for most of the season as well, which never really helps and really does impact the quality of the offense. So that's something I think is really going to be a big factor now for Mahomes' career. In my opinion, this is 2 years now. He's got to reset after this point and get himself back on board and up to speed as quickly as he can. And I think with the Chiefs and their contract situation with him, I think he's basically on, give or take, 10 years worth of contract, which is probably a bit matey uppy, to be honest, because a lot of that will have outs and renegotiation points and stuff built into it. So they won't be fully, truly locked in. There's a lot of guaranteed money, but they'll be willing to pay that. And I don't want to suggest at any point that this is like jettisoning Mahomes. It's more, as I alluded to earlier, the ability to restructure contracts to allow the replacement of key players that are no longer going to be available in 2 seasons' time. The major one I'm thinking of is Kelsey, how your wide receivers go. They've got a lovely crop of wide receivers at the moment with Worthy, and the name's gone blank on some of the other ones, but that they will need to renegotiate a lot of those. They'll come up for renewal, and so they may now need a lot more flexibility than they originally anticipated. So it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate that, if Mahomes plays ball or if he goes yeah, if he follows the route of Brady and takes one for the team, he's banked an enormous amount of guaranteed money already. So we'll see if he's willing to kind of eat a little bit of that in order to add some quality around him. But for me, Dara, okay, Mahomes is a huge talking point. He is the face of the league, whether you're a fan or not. But what I find most interesting now is this, in my opinion, dramatically opens up the AFC. And you can argue whether it was going to happen or not, but they are eliminated now. So no matter what, we're going to have a new representative in the Super Bowl from the AFC. And there's a couple of scenarios that I find very interesting. Obviously, the Broncos have clinched, so they're in the playoffs. That's been a resurgence. Bo Nix has, for some reason, got a lot of haters, or at least in the circles I'm listening to, a lot of haters. I think he's been playing pretty damn good. I mean, they've been winning a lot of football games. I don't really understand where the issues are coming from. You've got the Colts.
I think it's because it's not because of him maybe just I think it's because I think they have a 12, is it 11 wins they have so far this year, or 12?
The Denver are sitting on 12 after this week.
12. I think 11 of their wins have come in one score games, and I think that's what is getting people.
Yeah. And we've chatted a little bit, right? You can sit either side of the fence. I understand that. Either it's you think it's a sign of not a very good team. In my opinion, it's just a sign of the parity in the NFL. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes over the last whatever it is combined 12 years, we got used to teams being annihilated on a weekly basis. It doesn't. If you look at most team schedules, like the vast majority of NFL games are inside 7 points, almost always. And they've been running them even closer than that, 1 point to 3 point wins. I understand that. In my opinion, it's not a fluke to win 11 close games. That's a sign you're a good football team. But I also wanted to talk to you, Dara, as well about like you've got the Colts that had a good run back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. They're now back, but obviously Daniel Jones is gone, so that's a huge wrinkle for them. I don't think they've got the same momentum behind them as they had at the start of the season. Texans are looking hot, but they've been in the playoffs the last few years. A big one for me is the Buffalo Bills. They've had problems with the Bengals and the Chiefs for the last, 5 years in the playoffs. Both of those teams will not be in the playoffs this season. Is this finally the Buffalo Bills' time to make it to the Super Bowl, or is one of these new, and I think this would be the most egregious, that we've gone through domination. What do you call it? Not an era. It's a dynasty, the Tom Brady dynasty into the Patrick Mahomes dynasty. Are we about to go back into a New England Patriot dynasty? Is the AFC going to be just 20 years of Patriots, then Chiefs, then Patriots again? Because I mean, the boy looks good. They look legit. 11 wins. Anyway, that's what really went through my head. Once I saw them eliminated, I was like, who steps up and who's got it for you, do you think? Who's in the driver's seat right now?
It was interesting that you're mentioning the Patriots, and I think that we are being a little hoodwinked when it comes to the Patriots. I think the fact that their schedule has been so kind to them is a factor that people have to take into account, whether they want to or not. Yes, okay, they did go to Buffalo earlier on this year and win,
but they lost a tight one this week,
and they've lost a tight one this week. In a game in which, yes, Drake May did run for 2 touchdowns, but he didn't throw any. He had 155 yards and an interception in the game. Now, look, conditions you could say play a part, but Josh Allen threw 3 touchdowns in that game. He also, he didn't rush in for one. Sorry, James Cook rushed for 2 rushing touchdowns. I don't think that they're ready yet. They've got a great season as a base. Now, I do have a same fear of them that maybe I would have had a fear with, and not you, I would have had a fear with, you had a fear with Washington coming into this season, where they so far exceeded their expectations last year, getting to an NFC Championship game, that the only way realistically for them was to come down, and the thing that for them was to manage how far down that they could go.
Yep.
Now, obviously, they never planned for it to get as bad as it has, but injuries and stuff they happen, and hopefully there doesn't seem to be any lasting effects when it comes to the likes of Jaden Daniel, his injury, and I'm very happy that they've decided to shut him down for the last 3 games instead of
I think the
further
value is
risking. Yeah, there's no value in putting him back out there. You know what you have from him. You're not trying to see anything new. The season's gone. But so that's where my issue with New England is.
well, okay. I have a proposal for you there, right? We're gonna run through the teams that are still in contention real quick. We won't spend ages on them, but I'll tell you what I think, and then you can let me know where Denver, they're clinched. They're going to be in the playoffs. I think they're playing good enough football. It's tight. Bo Nix can turn it on. This week he was really good. I think they're genuine contenders. Next is New England. As you said, soft schedule, but at the end of the day, they're sitting at 11 wins. They're definitely going to be in my opinion. It's just about who do they come up with? Does the path to the Super Bowl fall correctly for them? Mm-hmm. Then you've got Jacksonville. I didn't know a lot about them. They seem to be playing pretty well. Trevor Lawrence always had the ceiling. Is he playing up to that ceiling? I don't know. Let's stop there. That's our first stop. How legit do you think Jacksonville's challenge for the AFC Championship game is?
I think they have a great chance. I think Trevor Lawrence has played well, but I think the part of the Jacksonville team that is not getting enough credit is that defense. I think they have one of the highest turnover rates in the league. I think their defense is playing fantastic ball. And it's one of the reasons why Trevor Lawrence is able to play as well as he has is because they keep getting the ball back for him in really good field positions. So I think they have a really, really good chance.
Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers. I personally don't like the look of it. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is playing where he needs to be playing to get that offense going. There's not enough downfield threat. The run game has been pretty strong. The defense was extremely hot at the start. It cooled way off. I think it's slowly starting to get itself back in rhythm a little bit. But I personally don't see Pittsburgh as real contenders for the NFC Championship game. Where do you have them? Or the AFC, I mean.
Yeah, the only sort of contending team they beat this year was the Colts.
Yep.
Any other sort of contender, especially in the AFC side that they've come up against, they've lost. Okay, yes, they beat the Patriots as well, and we have to call them contenders because they're going to win their division, they're going to be in the playoffs, so technically they are. But they lost to the Bills, they lost to the Chargers, who are going to be teams up there. They've, other playoff teams, say from the NFC side, they've lost to the Bears, they've lost to the Seahawks, they've lost to the Packers, those teams. So they are beating the teams that they should be to get where they need to get. It's going to be interesting. 2 of their last 3 games are going to be against teams that they would probably consider as playoff teams in the Lions, and then finishing up at home to the Ravens. So that game is going to be tasty because I think that's going to end up being for the division.
I suspect
that'll be for the division. So yeah, I've like that. I don't see if they make it to the playoffs, I can't see them getting past the first round.
Okay, LA Chargers. To me, they're pretty legit. Great defense again. It's what can they do at quarterback? How bad is the hand injury? How much is it going to affect performance? And is Herbert the guy? Right, he needs all these guys on the bubble need playoff wins. And I think it's time to rack it up. Have you anything on your end that you want to comment on the Chargers?
They've been very quiet about their business this year. Again, if you look at the teams that they have faced, they've beaten some contenders. They have beaten a lot of the contenders, I should say. I can't trust the Chargers ever since they threw away that 20-something point lead in the playoffs against the Jaguars a few years ago. Until you avenge that, I'm not trusting.
That's the bucket I have them in.
They're
going to be in. They're playing well, but they got to prove me right eventually. They got to prove it to me eventually. Buffalo, again, we talked about this should be right. They've been in the perennial playoffs. They might not win the division this year behind the New England Patriots. It's still technically open. They could do it. Let's see how the last 3 games go. I think they're a legit contender. Houston, huge contenders. I had a look. They have been getting a bit of a bad rap. But if you go through, especially the second half of the season, man, they've beat a lot of playoff teams. They beat the Colts with Daniel Jones, like while they were hot. They beat a lot of good teams. They beat the Bills, I think, as well. Like, you got to go all the way back, I think, to the Broncos game for the last time they lost the game to a playoff team. So I think Houston are legit. I love CJ Stroud as well. I think he's got a real potential in the playoffs. And then the last 2 teams, Dara, is the Colts, which I think we can both agree with their quarterback situation is a mess. That it's over. They might get into the playoffs, but they are, as far as I'm concerned, toothless. And then Baltimore, I think, in my opinion, this hasn't come out, but I've got to watch a lot of the Baltimore this season. And I just don't think Lamar Jackson is healthy. Either that or it's a very strange drop-off in form. But it reminds me strongly of players that are playing through injury that at the end of the season, it's going to come out that he has a torn oblique or a tweaked knee or a tweaked ankle. Obviously, he's had the ankle. We know about the ankle in terms of getting it taped up, but it wasn't flagged as something dramatic. I think there's something a little bit more serious going on in the background that's impacting the ability to scramble, the ability to make plays. So actually, in my opinion, I don't think the Baltimore Ravens this season are particularly big contenders. How do you think about those last 3 teams, Houston, Colts, and Baltimore? Would you co-sign on that?
Yeah, I'll start with the Colts. Yeah, I agree with you. If they make the playoffs, I can't see them getting past the first round only because of the injury situation. The Ravens, I fully agree with you. I think Lamar's playing hurt, and the reason I think that is now you said you've watched more games than me of Lamar. He's not running with the football as much as he was, and they're taking that threat. That threat is being taken away. Derrick Henry's still running with the ball very well, but I don't know. I agree with you. I just don't think he's fit. I don't think the defense is as strong as it has been in previous years either. Whether that's just down to injury or new scheme, But yeah, the Texans though, man, Texans are kind of like a sleeper team for me to win
That's
the
what I'm
AFC.
saying. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Their defense has been rock solid all season. But now the offense is starting to tick. CJ Stroud is starting to play better. He had a rough start to the season, but he's been playing much, much better. The running game really stuttered at the start, but now it seems to be getting a lot better. Woody Marks is taking sort of the starting job away from Nick Chubb. People worried without Joe Mixon this year, and no one's even said his name because they're not missing him.
Mm-hmm.
And with the likes of Nico Collins and stuff, it's just
athletes.
If they can stay fit, keep the important pieces healthy, I think they could be a really good underdog bet to win the AFC this year.
Agreed, 100%. I think they're a dark horse, let's say.
Yeah, but I want to jump back to the Chiefs side of things.
Sure.
Because I don't know. Did you see the comparisons that Mahomes' career has been taken with Brady?
I did. I tried to. Yeah. I kind of half alluded to it. I didn't want to get too much into it. I don't know what I did, but yeah, no, it was like a 9-year stretch, and then a knee injury, and then a rehab, and then that's when he took his second stint.
Yeah, they both in their first season played one regular season game. Okay, so they both sat out their first season. In their first 8 seasons, they both have 3 Super Bowl wins. They both, in their 8th season, lost the Super Bowl, which was Mahomes' last season against the Eagles, and Brady was the game against the Giants. And then in their 9th season, which is this season for Mahomes, they both suffered ACL injuries. Now, if you want to go in that timeline, then it wasn't for another 3 years until Tom Brady made a Super Bowl again. So is it going to be another 3 years before the Chiefs make a Super Bowl again?
Well, like I said, for sure they're going to miss this year. Well, that's guaranteed. And as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if next year is he's back, but he's not playing great. And everyone goes, yeah, see, he's done. So I wouldn't be surprised I would be surprised now if the third year he isn't back to full strength. I think the issue with the comparison is they don't play the same. And specifically, I've noticed, and we've commented it all in the chat as we're watching, and this is not a hot take. You'll hear this in a lot of other sources and outlets, but he's holding onto the ball so long. And in my opinion, that worked fantastically. He's one of the most creative quarterbacks we've ever seen in the realms of Aaron Rodgers, I would argue, in terms of improvisation, the arm strength, everything. But in my opinion, that doesn't age as well as how Tom Brady played the game. He can both throw from the pocket. I'm not talking about even necessarily accuracy. Tom Brady, his whole ethos was know what the defense is going to do beforehand and zip it in wherever I need to get it to. And it doesn't need to be a 50-yard bomb. In fact, he wasn't famous for his deep balls, but he was famous for not holding on to the ball and zipping it out there, in my opinion. And I think that's where him and Mahomes differ. I'm not sure as you get older that his scramble and improv, and I'm not saying he can't tuck it and run, like he's going to have his size. He's definitely going to have the arm strength. But does he have that like predetermined, I know, like you really have to get me away from my number one read, which I think is what Brady was so good at because his first read was the best read for the defense. And the defense was playing well if you got Brady to throw to a second one. But he wasn't looking to extend the play 3, 4, 5 seconds. If he did, he could, in the same way as if Mahomes needs to get it out fast, he can. But it's like, can he make that mental switch when the game gets too fast to get ahead of it mentally instead of physically? Tom Brady was always, in my opinion, mentally ahead of the game and physically not. So he never had that option. I wonder, can Mahomes make that switch? That for me is the concern more than the ACL injury. Not saying it slows him down, not saying it changes his run style, but over the years, can he get to a more stable, a more longevity focused play style? And this is all right waffles, I guess, we don't know. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, makes sense to me that it's not as sustainable to play the way Mahomes is playing into that age. If we really want to pretend and draw a perfect parallel between the two careers, how is Mahomes going to play in year 10 and 12 and 15? Whereas Tom Brady's it was obvious the blueprint wasn't going to change. Is Mahomes? Does it have to? Maybe, as I said, is my opinion that it does. I don't know. Do you share that? Do you see that same concern, or at least where I'm coming from?
I think we've started to see the change these past few years where he's relied, this is Mahomes I'm talking about, sorry,
Sure.
that he's relied less and less on his legs to get him out of trouble. And he's stood in the pocket for longer. And I think he has become a better passing quarterback. And I think as well, the thing that always goes unnoticed, not unnoticed, obviously people do notice it because then I wouldn't notice it. But, they are more of a running team as the years have gone on as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs,
yep.
It's not always on Mahomes. And I think that's the thing that him and Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy for a while he was there, now Matt Nagy, that it's a thing that they have realized as the years have gone on is that, yes, you are the generational talent. Yes, you are the face of the NFL. But we don't have to put it in your hands and have you win every single game for us. We have other facets of the offense,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that has helped Mahomes, and I think that has made it not easier for him, but has probably helped him in the longevity of his career. And that means that he won't have to rely on his legs, because then people will say when his legs are gone that he hasn't got anything else to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Not that people would actually say that. Maybe people that hate the Chiefs, but I think that we are seeing a maturity when it comes to his game. I think this time now with the injury is going to be fascinating in terms of, he can really now get his head into film, get his head into playbooks and stuff, and really evolve his game and maybe, get on that trajectory, that stay on that trajectory, I should say, that he was on with Brady, and keep racking up Super Bowl rings.
Well, look, I think if you're a Mahater, you're probably blood is boiling now that everywhere across all the media outlets, you're going, the man is he's shut down, he's injured, he's done for the season, and it's still all people are talking about. I'm sure there's people out there that is like, can we give it a rest on Mahomes for a minute? I think that's going to be quite funny to see, and whether that keeps going. But look, it's good fodder. I don't think anyone, even Mahomes, is as impacted by this injury than Chris Collinsworth. How is he gonna shoehorn him into literally every highlight if he's commentating? Doesn't matter which two teams are playing.
I believe a support group.
Mahomes.
Yeah, I believe a support group has been created for Chris Collinsworth and for Tony Romo to just cry and hug each other and say everything's going to be all right. Say it's only going to be a year. You're going to have to make do with Gardner Minshew for the rest of this season. So good luck with that.
Look, he had a little bit of a fairy tale run there in Jacksonville. I mean, it's over. It doesn't matter what he does, but who knows? You might get. You want him to feel hot coming into next season in case he's got to take the first 3, 4, 5 games before Mahomes can get back on the horse, and you never know.
Well, the way the league is going, they're going to try and get Alex Smith out of retirement and get him to play a couple of games, because that seems to be the way things are going at the moment. Him and his one leg. I actually want to throw a hot take out there at you, and I want to see how spicy it is and how likely this could happen. So Chiefs, obviously, they're not making the playoffs. Their season's going to end.
Yep.
Mahomes is injured. We don't know what he's going to be like coming out of the injury. We don't know if he's going to make the start of the season and what shape he'll be in. It was alluded that Travis Kelce, this was going to be his last season. It probably will continue to be, because he's going to get married next year to Taylor. Chris Jones has made a point that he has wanted to leave at various points over contract disputes, so he could try and leave again this year, or maybe he could retire too. You never know. My hot take is I think Andy Reid leaves at the end of the season, and I think he retires.
Yep, I don't think that's wild. I have to be honest with you. We obviously don't necessarily have enough bodies to call it a hot take, because one person agree with you, I guess, immediately makes it not a hot take. But yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility. I don't know what his contract structure is like. We hear way less about the coaches than we do about the players. But yeah, he's up there in age. He's one of the oldest coaches in the league. And I think he's done it all now at this point. He's had his run, 3 Super Bowls with the Chiefs in the last, whatever, 8 years, you said earlier. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he feels comfortable about leaving now and hand it over. They've always had, the only thing that would make me not nervous if you're a Chiefs fan is like, their coordinators have always been some of the most sought after for head coaching jobs in other places around the league. So I think you got to feel comfortable and confident with what that coaching tree looks like in-house for Andy Reid, and that someone is already primed, or you most likely have the best head coaching candidate in-house already. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that market looks like as well, whether they do shop outside or just elevate one of the OC or the DC.
Yeah, well, Andy Reid's contract runs until the end of Super Bowl 2029.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a huge problem to get out of. He'd probably give up a bit of guaranteed money or something like that. There's always buyouts available. He certainly probably...
Well, like, you would imagine if it was an in-house hire in terms of head coach replacement, you would imagine probably the Chiefs DC, Steve Spagnuolo. He's been there the longest.
Yeah, you know what I mean? There's a ton of names involved. That's what I'm like. They've always had it for, like, going back maybe 10 years, some of their OCs and DCs have been some of the most sought after. So,
yeah, so it'll be interesting. I thought it was a hot take. It seems as though it's quite
no,
mild and
it's definitely,
quite
I would
easy
argue
to.
it's hot in the sense it's not the first thing that people are thinking of in this scenario. It's only not hot in the sense of I don't think once you notice it, I don't think it's a crazy situation, but I would call it warm because it's definitely not the first thing that's on people's minds at the moment, and it's certainly a scenario to keep an eye on or to keep an eye out for.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on. We don't normally preview Thursday night football games because, let's be honest, they're
But who's
normally
playing on
terrible.
Thursday night? Would it be a
Yeah,
team that you have a special interest in?
I don't really have that much of an interest in the Rams, but we'll talk about them anyway. Uh, no, look, listen, I know, look, Seahawks fan, blah, blah, blah. But the reason why I want to talk about it is not because the Seahawks are playing, because they played another Thursday night game. We didn't preview that.
Yeah,
It's because of what's at stake.
Yep.
Because obviously both teams are 11-3. The Rams are first in the division. They are also the 1 seed in the NFC. The Seahawks have their own fate in their hands in terms of they win out, they'll get the number 1 seed. Obviously, the Rams need to win against the Seahawks to obviously do that as well. So for a Thursday night game on a short week, it's kind of shitty that there's so much at stake and the teams have a short week to do it. You kind of love this to be a Sunday night football game if you could.
Is it in Seattle?
Yes.
That's going to be interesting. Is it going to be snowy? Is it going to be icy? That's going to be a real feather in the bow for Seattle, I think, versus the Rams with their dome and their nice LA weather and this kind of stuff. If the Seahawks lose this game, is that the only way they make it to the playoffs? I'm looking at the records. They seem in pretty strong position. Like it's strongly likely both these teams make the playoffs. I mean, the Rams are locked in already, right?
The Rams are playoff bound. I meant for the Seahawks to win out, they would guarantee the number 1 seed if they win.
Gotcha. I understand.
Yeah.
Which is important. But I don't, as we've said, we've kind of talked on and off, like the depth in the NFC this year is not something I'd be too frightened about. You've got Detroit don't look like the same team. They can certainly boat race people, but they haven't done it as consistently. San Francisco, you guys are very familiar with. Tampa Bay, I mean, they're in the playoffs at the moment at 7-7. Philly are 9-5. There's been an awful lot of stuff coming out, and then I mean, I don't like picking fights at this point. It just feels personal, but like I just do not believe the Chicago Bears at 10-4. So I think of all years, home field advantage is like number 1 seed is probably going to be a little bit less important. I think you guys are going to get a pretty nice seeding anyway. It will be great to have the bye. Naturally, that's what you're playing for. But also underrated is having that home field all the way up through. So I wouldn't be too worried. I think you have beaten and are probably, I would say, if I had to go right now, I would say it's pre Thursday night. It's Rams 1, Hawks 2 in terms of power rankings of the NFC. Let's see what happens. Every stumbling block I thought they would have come across, they've handled pretty convincingly. And Darnold just has not blinked. Like, he is playing lights out all season. And the defense is playing really well again. Like that linebacker you guys have, the middle linebacker, is it Wilson? Is he a young guy? He might be a rookie. He's so good, man. He's flying around the place. So
yeah, they traded for him he actually used to be a Ram. Was looking for a new contract. The Rams instead traded him to the Titans. Spent half a year with the Titans and was traded last season to Seattle. And then Seattle gave him a new contract in the offseason.
Yeah, Drake Thomas. I think it's Drake Thomas I'm actually talking about.
The outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has him here as left inside linebacker.
Yeah.
On the depth chart.
He was he's kind of more the weak side. He's actually been good. He's in the league a few years, and he was drafted by Seattle. I think he was an undrafted free agent,
I'm
and he's
pulling
been
up his
on and off
stats
the
now.
practice squad. But he's taken a huge step these last few years. But it's interesting. I know you're talking about Sam Darnold being lights out. This game was the game earlier on this season that Sam probably had his worst game in a Seahawks uniform, which was a 4-interception game in the first game against the Rams, which they lost by a field goal. And this week they're actually going to be. Have you been paying attention to those like Nike rivalry jerseys that they're doing this year?
I have seen some of them look really, really good.
Yeah. So the Seahawks are debuting their one this year or this week.
Gotcha.
And I think I have a picture of it here. I must say I do like it. I didn't at the start, but it's growing on me now at the moment.
The bit I don't like, the only bit I don't like is I was kind of hoping for a bit of a, yeah, I like it. It's
Yeah.
got, you know what it's
Yeah.
got? It's got very that kind of Oregon Ducks, like the holographic, flashy, neon-y kind of shoulder patterning. It's kind of sonar based on that pick you have up for us at the moment.
It's decibel based because
Gotcha.
it's the Seattle has the loudest crowd that they
Gotcha.
were feeding off that for the design.
The numbers look cool. I actually like the numbers.
Yeah.
I think the helmet looks pretty slick. They've debuted the helmet, right? That's been in a different game with a different. I think with the
No, this is a
normal
brand
white
new
jersey.
helmet.
This has all been released. The only thing I'm disappointed about, I'm kind of at the end of the day, it's a marketing gimmick, right? It's another set of jerseys that real super fans are going to have to buy. But I kind of like them. I was never completely against the old school color rush. I actually kind of liked it. I know the block was a bit thing, but the only thing I'm disappointed about the rivalry jerseys, is that they're not matched. Like that they're not playing both teams in the rivalry jersey. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah,
I think they should have set them up as rivalry games, because obviously some people, like a lot of teams, have home rivalry games, so you can't do home and home. But I would have liked if they'd have had a home and away, like pair them up and then go and do it next year, do the flip, because the whole point is it's the genuinely a rival game, right?
Yeah, I just look. You were right. They mentioned when you mentioned it about like it's a money grab situation. It totally is. I think they're looking at the NBA side of things, where each NBA team I think has like 5-6 different versions of jerseys that they have.
City edition and all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what the NFL are trying to tap into, because obviously it was the NFC West and the AFC East this year. And I think obviously they're going to change it now every year. So I think actually it's going to be the NFC East next year. So Commanders will probably get their own now.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of play you could do there. I'll be interested to see. You see, the NFC East, I mean, I guess they all are, but the NFC East are so traditional. Like, what are the Cowboys going to put on their alternate helmet? Like, they really don't like to mess with stuff. Same with the Eagles. I mean, they've got that Kelly Green that looks so good. Are they going to just kind of do a variation of that, or are they going to go and do something totally different? So that'll be interesting. Do you know, Dara, are the other teams keeping their rivalry jerseys in rotation, or they only have them this year? And then, like, will the Seahawks be able to pull them out for next season?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
That's another pity. I would have liked to have kind of. I always like
it. What they are doing is they're bringing in they're wearing their other throwback.
Yes.
More and more, which is what I like. I like that how the Eagles are wearing their Kelly Green more and more. So I'd like to see more teams do stuff like that. Because was it the Buccaneers did their popsicle a couple of times this season as well.
They are so good, those ones.
Who would have thought like we'd like an orange jersey?
Not us.
It's missing gray. That's what it's missing. It's missing some gray. Good metal gray. Anyway, let me get a prediction then from you, because you are obviously the unbiased one in this Thursday Night Football preview. So Seahawks at home to Rams, with the winner possibly getting the number 1 seed. Obviously, there's still 2 other games left to play, but who have you got?
I'm gonna take the Seahawks by less than 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Well, it's definitely going to be tight. I don't think any team is in a position to blow any other one out of the water. It's going to be interesting to see who is fit for this game. Like I mentioned, Thursday night, short turnaround. I know on the Rams side, Devontae Adams is struggling with a hamstring. I don't think he's going to play, which is a big loss for them. On the Seahawks side of things, I think there's also a hamstring injury for left tackle Charles Cross. So that's going to be a tough one to overcome, especially against that Rams D line.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence as well as marked as questionable at the moment.
Is he? Right. Okay.
Yeah, well, he is on the app I'm reading anyway. So
yeah. Well, and with that, they obviously have to put out their training reports on a Monday, the day after a game. Now, it's technically only a walkthrough, so they give estimates of who would train if they had to.
Yep.
So I think, and with these new rules, especially around the Lamar Jackson stuff that went on at the start of the year with the medical reports, even if there's a hint of an injury, they have to be technically limited at practice, which is kind of maddening to me. But okay, Grant, looking forward to that game. I'll be up and watching it on Thursday, and I'm sure I will be paying for it on Friday when it comes to it.
You got to save all those holiday days for the Christmas run up. No days left.
Wedding.
That's true. Yeah.
For the wedding, you know. Right. That's going to bring us nicely around to an hour. Fionn, as always, sir, thank you so much. I know it's tough talking to two people, but I felt we got through it.
No, good rhythm. Yeah, it's been a pleasure as always.
We will be back again next week with a Christmassy edition because it's only going to be 2 days before Christmas. So we'll look ahead to the Christmas Day games as well that are going to be on Netflix too. Before we go, make sure you head over to the website ucp.ie. That's for all the latest AFI news and all of our shows. If you want to listen to this back, you can. It's on Spotify. Just Under Center Podcast. Same with Google Pod, wherever you get them. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, please like this video. And if you haven't, subscribe to the channel too. Really helps us out. And we would love to be able to grow this Under Center podcast community because we have some really good and exciting things coming for the AFI year in 2026. So we'd like as many people as possible to be able to view it. So make sure you follow it. Even if you want to share the channel with people, we'd appreciate that too. At Under Center Pod, Instagram, Twitter, that's where you're going to find us on the socials. And TikTok too. We post some clips on that as well. But until next time, stay safe and we will see you soon.